Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our second meeting of West Perth. And just before we get started, I would ask the council and staff that we would have a moment of reflection. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we will call this meeting to order. There's one additional item, and I'll make an announcement at the start. Apparently, Doug Ite has some straw to unload, so if there's anybody that's available, if we finish up in good time, he's looking for some able-bodied people to help him out. So the first item on the agenda then is a confirmation of the agenda. Do we have a mover and seconder for that motion, please? Moved by Councillor Marshall, seconded by Councillor Rose. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda tonight? Okay, I don't see anybody. If you find that you're running into problems, you can declare it when we get to it as well. The consent agenda is there. There are 8 items on the consent agenda. Is there anything there that anybody would like pulled or clarified or more explanation or whatever? Councillor Marshall?
Yes, I'd like to pull item 4.1, please, for further discussion.
4.1, okay. Anybody else? Okay, would you like to have that discussion right now, or do you want to leave it go till the end of the meeting under other business?
Why don't we deal with it now? It's more just a looking for a staff report for it. So.
Okay, well, let's do that. We'll have the discussion. So Jeff, I'll let you lead off, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, just with the issue, especially given the heat, the temperatures that we've been seeing, I think this is an important issue, and I'd like to see a report come back from our fire chief, looking into adding this on to our regulations so that there's no issue if they need to open up a vehicle to get an animal out.
Okay, anybody else? Where is Bill? Just a question, Bill, and I've seen it on the news where fire department or police, and if there's a dog or whatever in the vehicle, they'll actually smash the window to get in there. They have the power to do that, do they, or not?
That's exactly what this letter's requesting or advising council. For us to do it legally, it should be part of our establishing and regulating bylaw that lists all the services that we provide. It would certainly protect the municipality from any liability for damage caused to a vehicle.
Okay. So my next question is, and anybody can jump right in here, I'm looking for hands, but my next question would be, rather than a report, why don't we just do a bylaw?
If we can do a bylaw, Walter, we might as well do it.
We could do that with a motion, I guess, if you want, to instruct staff just to prepare a bylaw for the next meeting. Would that work for you, Jeff?
Absolutely, if that works for the chief.
Work, Bill?
It wouldn't be a standalone bylaw. It would be the existing establishing and regulating bylaw for the fire department. I would just have to bring it back with an edit that would include this service. So okay. It doesn't need to have a standalone bylaw.
Yeah, no, and that was what I was assuming, I guess. So how would you like to do it, Bill? We can have you go away and do a 30-page report, or you can just come with an amendment to the bylaw.
I would gladly come back with an amendment to your bylaw.
Okay, so if the rest of council is in favor of that, let's do, Lubitz, I'm looking at you or Dan, we could just do a motion right now, could we not? To do a bylaw, or not a bylaw, but a motion that we come back with the amendment to to the fire bylaw, I guess it would be. So can we have a mover and seconder for that, if everybody's in favor of that? Moved by Jeff, seconded by Councillor Matheson. Any further discussion? Murray? Your hand was just up. Okay. Yeah, okay. No, that's fine. Any further comments on that? Okay, if not, all those in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Good. Okay. So the consent agenda, if we can leave it as it is with 1 to 8, because we've already dealt with 1, so we don't have to pull it, do we? Now? So we can just deal the consent agenda, mover and seconder for items 1 to 8, and then we'll go on from there. So somebody want to move the consent agenda? Or did we? We did that, didn't we? No, we didn't. Okay. Moved by Councillor Murray, and we have a seconder. Councillor Tankowski. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Okay, we do not have any delegations or presentations tonight, I don't believe. So it brings us to reports, and the first item under reports is the Chief Building Official. So Bob McLean, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before you is the monthly building permit summary. We had just over $9.8 million in construction value for the month, and 44 permits issued and 20 zoning certificates. The permits are listed.
All right, any questions for Bob on any of that? All right. My computer screen has gone blank here, Bob. So was there anything else to your report?
Just brought forward the second quarter stats for the first half of the year, comparisons to 2018, 2019, and 2020 as far as permit numbers, construction value, and residential starts.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, seeing none, the recommendation is that the Council of Municipality of West Perth accepts the June building permit report as submitted. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Vink and Councillor Murray. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Okay, moving on then. The next is the Fire Chief's report. So Bill?
Thanks again. First report tonight is the activity report for the months of May and June. As council can see, our call volume is basically on par with last year, but we're about 12% down on the 3-year average. As we've been coming out of lockdown, the firefighters have been getting the opportunity to do a bit more training. And over the 2 months, we did have the mobile fire training unit on site, and the firefighters did get quite a bit of time with that. Also with training, we've done 2 shared training with Perth East. The first one was peer support training. So these members are trained to assist other firefighters that are dealing with traumatic incidents or critical incident stress. So that went quite well. Lots of good feedback on the training. And the second combined training that we did was a 40-hour pumper operations course that went over the course of 2 weekends, plus quite a bit of pre-class work. So and both were, like I said, lots of good comments on both courses. And if council has any questions, I'd certainly try and answer them.
Okay, any questions for the fire chief on that report? The practices that you've had with Perth East, so is that utilizing some of the money that the province gave to us in lieu of closing the training center up at
Gravenhurst?
Gravenhurst, yeah,
The
thanks.
fire college?
Yeah.
Yes, actually, all of the training manuals that were used for that course, we purchased them through some of the money from the provincial grant.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, if not, motion here is that the municipality of West Perth receives the May, June West Perth Fire Department activity report prepared by Fire Chief for information. We have a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Rose. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Okay, and then the next is a report with regards to the siren.
Great, thank you. So the second report is an update on the emergency siren at the fire station. Excuse me. I put together some history on the discussions that we've had over the siren, and I've also provided some options for council to consider with our next step, which would be public consultation. So certainly looking for some direction from council tonight on that. Also, council will see in the report a list of some siren usage options. So once again, for council's consideration, some of the different options that we have for using the siren, that we would include that in our public consultation. And once again, I'd gladly try and answer any questions.
Okay, any questions with regards to that report? Councillor Tam?
I have two questions, Bill. Number one, I guess I think they tried to test the siren in the spring, and maybe council or the public wasn't aware, and there was some confusion over it. But I think the point was to see if it was going to be audible from inside the tower or not. So I just wondered. I'm all for the recommendation of the public consultation till October 18th, but I wondered if we could assign a date in the meantime, maybe where they could test it and see if it was even going to work as it's planned at this point.
Yes, it was definitely tested when the wiring was done in the hose tower. Wasn't really a formal test to let it run out its whole cycle to see how far it would travel. There wasn't any science to how we tested it. Just wanted to make sure that it was working. But certainly we could set up a test and just see what kind of coverage area. Would that be what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think so. I think they just wanted to know whether it would needed to be moved outside or possibly a second one at another location if it was going back into service. And my other question, Bill, was is if it was going to address tornadoes, is there a way that they could have a different ringtone to it so that there could be some awareness about that, but it was different than the regular siren?
Yes, if council wanted it set up for, say, fire calls and for weather alerts, then we would talk to our radio contractor because they would be the ones that would have to program it for the different sound. Right now, it would be, or right now, the Perth East sirens are activated by our paging system, and they just have a standard tone. So I'm not familiar with operating it with two different tones, but I'm sure that our contractor could sort that out.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Nicholas?
You mentioned that the siren would ring automatically on a fire call. Is it possible to automate it for severe weather, as an example, in a tornado, that it's automatically rang?
That would be something I could add to the list of questions for the radio contractor. I'm not sure. It obviously would have to get its message from Environment Canada to set it off. So once again, I'm not familiar on how that would work, but we could certainly ask.
The only, and I'm not saying this to throw water on it, but the only issue that I would see about setting it up for weather-related circumstances is if a tornado hits Dublin, it's not going to do an awful lot of warning to anybody to have the siren going off in Mitchell. You know, and I'm not knocking it. Certainly, if there's a tornado that close, that people of Mitchell maybe should be aware of it. But we're limiting to one area of our whole fire area with regards to a warning. And I'm not sure that. I guess it's better than nothing maybe, but I'm not sure it's the best that we could do to warn people. I know in other areas, certainly, I believe it was Huron County had a warning system. Huron or Bruce, I just can't remember now. One of them had a warning system that there was actually calls went out, automatic dialed calls and went out to warn people. But usually with a tornado, as you know, within Barrie, there's not a lot of warning, and they see it and they just head for the basement type of thing. With regards to the testing, certainly it did run once, and I'm reminded of that. That day that it was tested, I had numerous calls wanting to know what was going on, because you got to remember the last time that siren worked was in 2009, which is a few years ago. Like it would be 11 years ago. And there's been a lot of people move into town that have never heard it, and they just had no clue what was going on. So I'm not sure. I think whether we should do the survey first and see whether there's support for it, or whether we do a test and find out the response. Maybe the test first, and then people would know what we're talking about. I throw that out for discussion, I guess. Dean?
I guess in response to your comment, Your Worship, would we advertise a test, do the test, and then, like you say, conduct the survey, and then you would get a more reasonable response after people have heard what they're answering the question to?
Yeah, we could do it that way. I think Dean is an ad in the paper at a certain time on a certain date. They'll test the siren, and we could also put it on our webpage, on the municipal webpage. That's about as good as we can notify people. And as we found out from previous events that we've had, not everybody gets the paper, not everybody looks at our webpage, but it would be better than nothing. So that's probably the best we could do. Councillor Tam again?
Yeah, I think if you did something like that and then just said that there's going to be a 30-day consultation period or whatever we feel we need, and then staff report back whenever, I think that'd be great.
Right. And we can select the area, the size of the area that we consult. We can do the same thing as we do for a minor variance or any of a planning thing. We can pick a certain area, radius of the fire hall, and circulate it to those people if we want to. So we probably we can accept Bill's report. I wonder, do we need a motion to put an ad, or how we're going to follow out with the survey? We don't have to do that. It's covered. Okay. So then a motion here that we receive the fire department emergency siren report for information, and council selects option 4. We didn't really talk about that, but that's the recommended option for public consultation. And the fire chief reports back with the results of the public consultation by October the 18th. Does that meet everybody's approval? Dean?
I'd like to move that.
Okay, moved by Dean. Do we have a seconder for that motion then? I'm going to take Councillor Tam this time. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Bill. Moving
Great.
on.
Thanks very much.
Moving on then, Recreations and Facility Manager Darcy is here, and I'll let you give us your reports.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie and Council. I have an activity report in front of you. Went through all of the capital projects that are ongoing. They are happening very quick, and a lot of exciting stuff, and a lot of exciting stuff still to come. I think the highlight would be the Ketterson Pavilion. The grant being announced publicly is very exciting, and we're moving forward on that, getting consultant services together to get a tender-ready drawings, and we as well would like to get the committee back together, which we did through the Ketterson Park Master Plan, and we're looking for some council representation on that. So I think we'll discuss that a little bit later, but we're looking for council representatives. Quick overview of the facility maintenance that's ongoing right now, facility rentals, as well as our recreation programs that are ongoing right now. I will gladly take any questions. You're muted, Walter.
Okay, any questions for Darcy? Councillor Matheson.
Yeah, to you, Mayor. Just have some inquiries on whether the schedule for the diamonds, now that they're up and running and being used, is there used to be able to go on and see if there was open diamond times or who was playing when. Is that available now?
I believe it is. It's Abby that looks after that, but I can check with Abby tomorrow to make sure that it has all gone online again, and I can get your response on that tomorrow.
Okay.
Any other questions for Darcy? The uptake on tennis and pickleball is going fairly well.
Yeah. As I mentioned, there is a deficiency that we're fixing on the court, but the pickleball is still going, and tennis is still going, and it's used on pretty much a daily basis. So it's really good.
That's good. That's good. Okay, if there is nothing else, we'll go back to the first item, and that's with regards to appointing somebody to participate, or some bodies to participate on the working group to provide final design for the new pavilion and the community fundraising component of the Ketterson Park improvement project. So we can, I guess we can just throw this open. I think initially we had thought of a couple people, and the idea is that we'll bring people from the Ag Society and the user groups as well. Very similar, as Darcy said, to when we did the Ketterson Park Master Plan, and go from there. So you don't want to use the Ketterson Park Master Plan Committee that we had. You're looking for some different bodies, maybe, eh?
Yeah, I think we will. We'll do it by invite. I think we will invite most of them that were part of it during the master plan, but we might look to add a few more just from other groups that maybe were involved at that time or whatever. But we want to get a good user group basis to run the committee for sure.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, let's throw it open. Do we have a couple volunteers that would like to go on to this committee? Okay, I've got 4 hands. Okay, I'm going to look over to Councillor, or to our CAO, Mr. Brick. We put names in a hat. Do you want 4 from council on this committee? What would you like to do here?
I'll just add a couple things. I think as long as you have less than 6, I think we're quite frankly not worried about how many you have. I anticipate we'll have 4 or 5 community members, but any decisions the committee would need to ultimately make would have to be endorsed by council anyway. So I don't think it would be a worry that it appears like we have a lot of council reps. We see this as a volunteer committee of council, so it'll be a committee that isn't one of our paid per diems for council representation, but we don't anticipate more than 2 or 3 meetings. So we didn't actually have a number on it, Mayor McKenzie, and as long as you're less than 6, so that we don't have a quorum of council and have that complication, we'd be satisfied to take as many councillors as they're willing to serve.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so has that changed anything that we had 4 names? We're still good with the 4 that we had? Jeff, you're good to leave your name? Okay. Steve?
Yes.
You're good? Yep. And now Sherry, I believe, had her hand up, and the other one was Murray. So you're good under those terms. So as Jeff said, we can't really grab too many more. I'll leave it open if there's anybody else would like to throw their hat in here. Okay, if not, we probably should have a motion then. And we'll do it all as one. We'll have a mover and seconder, and that'll do the report, and we'll do the names as well, all into the same motion. So do we have somebody to move that recommendation? Anna Marie Murray, thank you, and Nicholas Fink. So the motion is moved by Anna Marie and seconded by Nicholas, that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth receives the Recreation and Facilities Department Activity Report dated July the 19th as presented, and that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth appoint Jeff Marshall, Steve Harold, Sherry Bell, and Murray Rose to participate on a working group to provide input to the final design of the new pavilion and the community fundraising component of the Keterson Park Improvement Project. Okay. Any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Very good. Okay, thank you, Darcy.
Thank you.
All right, the next report is from our clerk, Dan. So I'll turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Good afternoon, Council. Just before I jump into my report here, I just want to take the opportunity while I have the floor here to just speak to our next council meeting. On the 26th, we'll have consultants here doing a delegation on the ward boundary review and council composition. So we have consultants from Watson coming. They're going to be just providing an overview, basically what our role is, what's the expectations of us, what's the legal requirements of us, and basically open the floor up to council to ask any questions and get all that out in the open. So just wanted to give everyone a heads up that that's coming, so everyone has lots of time to kind of prepare and see what questions they want to ask of these guys. They are the experts, I'll say, in this field, particularly in our region too. Jumping right in then to 6.4.1. So before council today, staff is looking for a direction to go out and recruit a co-op student. Being the time of year it is, we've gotten a couple different public institutions reaching out to us looking to hire a co-op student. After review of a few programs in the area, we thought there'd be a good fit, and we definitely think there is a need in the clerk's department. We have quite a few files that we need to go through and sort. Not only is the timing, it's a good time for us because we're looking at bringing in, we are bringing in a new software and looking to digitalize records. So it's quite a repetitive task, unfortunately, on some degree. That being said, we are looking at potentially moving, and that's something to be dealt with later tonight by all means, but we still need to get our own house in order, so to speak. We project at the minimum wage, it'd be about $6,200. That'd be the loaded rate. And there's certainly either we're projecting surplus because we've had some vacancies in staff and full-time positions, the clerk role being one, as you are all aware. And additionally, there are reserves if need be to cover that chunk. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, any questions for Dan on that? Councillor Marshall?
So really, this is just going to put just barely a dent into this. So looking at the number of hours required on, is that, so we'll be looking at doing further co-op students at some point? Is that the idea, or will you guys be able to get this done?
No, I think it would certainly help us by all means, but it will be an all hands on deck type of procedure. So once we get Laserfish is the software system that was purchased and moved into. So once we get that implemented and installed and up and running, it'll give us a bit of a better idea of how we actually need to go about the digitization. You know, I've seen some of these scanners that OCI read, and they can do it very, very fast, and it just is almost an automated process. That being said, we're also looking at quotes from Laserfish to see what, you know, how much time that they would put towards this and what that cost would be as well. So I agree, this likely is a drop in the bucket, so to say, but we got to give it a try at least. And there's always another term if council so wishes and approves that.
Councillor Vink?
A university or co-op or college co-op, I guess they're not looking for repetitive tasks. So over and over, they're looking for a well-rounded experience as well too. Is that something that we're able to offer?
Yeah, I think on the note, there's the document prep, and obviously, as you'd be aware, Council, we do have some historical documents. So I think with the right person, and looking at letting them dabble into potentially the communication side and projects of that nature, we can certainly offer it. By no means am I suggesting to throw someone in a room where they can unstaple documents and scan them all day, but it would be a large portion of the job, and that's the reality of the function. But you're absolutely right. It's part of the co-op program that we need to give a diverse and well-rounded professional experience, and we're looking to do that.
Okay, other questions? I thought maybe somebody might ask about the consultants coming to the next meeting, and this is a thing that we have to do each term of council to have a look at it. So whether you're in favor or not in favor, they'll do a fairly thorough explanation of what it is, and we can go from there. So some of us have had this discussion a few times before. Councillor Vink?
Haven't we already committed with money in the budget for a ward boundary review and council composition review?
I believe maybe we have.
Yes.
I answer that
one. Jeff will answer that, Jeff Brick.
I'd be happy to answer that. And I think just in fairness to Dan, that it's a better one for me to answer. I would normally leave it to him, but we did anticipate, we put money in case we wanted to proceed with studies. And there was a discussion at the council budget approval, whether or not it was mandatory and whether or not we would need to spend all that money. We've determined that this education session may be sufficient to satisfy ourselves. We don't have to do anything this term because we're frankly running out of time to do a full-blown study and to be ready for the next election. So what we did is we made a time and materials contract with Watson. They did a similar presentation in North Perth about approximately a month ago. And they have a lot of the data. So they're a great starting point. We still have that money in the budget if if council would like to pick off a chunk of that project, or whether or not they want to scope it for a future year, which wouldn't be next year because next year's election, it would then by definition be the following year. But I think we need to get this all on the table for a decision of council so that we can plan to do it at some time in the future. Certainly our ward discrepancies aren't as bad as many other municipalities, and you may find that it's on the basis of the data that you don't have an appetite for making big changes, and that's one of the choices we have, the do nothing choice, and that's what the consultant will lay out for us. So there's budget, there's plenty of budget, but that doesn't mean we need to spend it. In fact, we might be wise to not spend it and carry it over for a future project.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Any other questions? All right, I have a motion here then, a recommendation that Municipality of West Perth accepts the co-op student report as information, and that council directs staff to recruit a co-op student, and that council directs staff to apply to Canada's Student Work Placement Program. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Vink and Councillor Bell. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Okay, the next report then, thanks Dan. Next report then is from the CAO, and it's with regards, first one's with regards to the OPP Detachment Board proposal. So Jeff?
Thank you very much, Mayor McKenzie. I do have 3 reports. I'm going to start with the OPP Detachment Board proposal. The report has been with you for the weekend. There's a lot of background information on the legislative changes and our requirement to move to a detachment board system. The consensus in our meeting when we reviewed our options was that we have fairly narrow and limited options, and kind of the best governance could be served by the second option that was laid out in the report. And I'm recommending that we proceed with the second option. This report is going to North Perth Council tonight, and to Perth. The same report goes to North Perth Council tonight and to Perth East Council, I believe it is August the 10th. And if all three councils pass the same resolution, I'm anticipating that it'll be me that uploads this to the Solicitor General website using the designated form.
Okay.
Can't hear you, Walter.
Sorry, we will we'll do the motion and get a mover and seconder for that, and then I'll open it up for questions. So the motion is that the Council Municipality of West Perth support a joint submission to the Minister of Solicitor General for a Perth Detachment Board for Ontario Provincial Police Services, consisting of a total of 8 members, with the Township of Perth East, the Municipality of North Perth, and the Municipality of West Perth, each having 1 council representative and 1 community representative, and the remaining 2 members being provincial representatives, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Township of Perth East and the Municipality of North Perth, and that a joint submission be made following the Ministry of the Solicitor General procedure as soon as possible after the 3 resolutions supporting the same proposed composition are passed. So we get a mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Murray and Councillor Trinkowski. And now I'll open it up for any questions or concerns. Councillor Marshall.
Would this new police board affect our ability at any time to change police service providers if we chose to do so in the future?
I'll let Jeff answer that. I could answer it, but I'll let Jeff if he wants. No, well, the answer is no. Very simply, just no. It would be no different than what we have now, Jeff, other than it's just a larger area. Other questions? Nicholas, go ahead.
I was wondering what the Police Services Board recommendation on this issue was. And secondly, I was also wondering how it would be fair that without a contract, you get the same representation as when you do have a contract with the Ontario Provincial Police.
Okay, now I'm going to turn that one over to Jeff.
So first, maybe Police Services Board first, and then...
Sure. So the answer to the first question is that we didn't consult the Police Services Board. We actually spoke to the other municipalities. The Police Services Board is aware that the changes were coming, and the legislative decision, frankly, allows very limited options. So the legislation's in place. We're in implementation mode at this time. And so I think very frankly, and cutting right to the chase, it's up to council to decide how they want to be governed. And so the proposal's been brought to council. I certainly spoke to the chair of the Police Services Board, Chair Harold, and spoke to Mayor McKenzie about the options, as did the other CAOs, the other CAO with the board, which is North Perth. And we feel the governance model is very obvious in this case, and that there's not a lot of debate. So that's the answer to the first question. I can answer other follow-ups on that one, but I'm going to go on to the second one, which was the question about all 3 municipalities having equal representation, even though only 2 of them have contracts currently, and the contracts will not be administered by the detachment board governance. So all of the services that we receive under the contract will not be governed by our detachment board arrangement. This is a bit complicated in that essentially the position of the Solicitor General office is that we will not have a contract for our extended services. But as you all know, agreements are like fences. Good fences make good neighbors, and agreements make good partners. So we're going to need to have some kind of a contractual arrangement, but that contractual arrangement, if we choose to stay in the same arrangement or if we choose to modify it, will need to be administered by council directly, in my view.
Nicholas again.
So what you're saying is shortly our contract with the OPP will be ended and we'll start some new agreement.
Yes, the contract with the OPP will end. I believe it'll be a scramble based on my experience with negotiating contracts with the province to get the services that we currently obtain articulated in a contract immediately. So I expect that we will be in a period with no contract, although an obligation to fulfill service, and that we will very quickly want to work with our local detachment commander and our police sergeants to get that confirmed. I would mention in as a matter of sort of mentioning the fairness of this, that one of the things we provide under our contract is we provide office space for our local detachment, our local police officers that report to Mitchell, as does North Perth. We pay for that out of our direct budget. In the case of Perth East, they actually have to pay for space in Sebringville. So there are some true cost factors that are built into our cost modeling. Frankly, Sebringville detachment wouldn't be able to take all of the officers that we currently locate in Mitchell. So if there was some significant change in our contract arrangement that involved changing the housing arrangement, we'd have to spend some time working how we'd handle that. And we really don't have those answers at this point. The first step in this journey is setting up the detachment board and then moving to the next levels of negotiation to continue the quality of policing services we get.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Wright had a question, I do believe, and then Councillor Jankowski. You're muted, Doug. Oh,
Plus, I
okay.
lost everybody. Yes, my thing was the same as Nicholas's. What if we decide to go a different way? We've obviously had a proposal before. I thought we would be up by now, our police contract, because we haven't, usually it's only 3 years and we're already in our almost through 3 full years of council. So I don't know if we prolonged it to, as Jeff says, we'll rush at the end. We don't have to rush at the end. We could be out in front of it.
I'll answer the second question first. Our contract isn't up for, I believe, another 2 years. We did not go with the typical 3-year contract because it was going to land us in an election year. So we chose to make it a 4-year contract, which will mean that it'll expire at the end of the year after the election, so that it kind of took the politics out of the discussion of what to do with the contract. We obviously didn't anticipate these changes in legislation coming. So, and then I want to go back to the choices that you have as a municipality on who you obtain police services for are still within the municipality's purview, and the option of seeking an alternative provider is still available.
Okay, Councillor Jankowski.
No, thank you, Your Worship. The answer to my question was received. I just wanted to know when the current contract expires, and that's the end of 2023. Thank you.
Right. Councillor Marshall, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Anybody else? Okay, if there is no further questions, the recommendation here is that actually did we not move and second it? We've done that, and then we open it up for questions. So if there is no further questions, all those people in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? And that is carried. Thank you. All right, the next then is a report from the CAO on the Rural Roots tree planting program.
Hey, thank you very much. So agenda item number 6.5.2 is a report that we've in a very similar template to what we received from Rural Roots as a result of their first year of planting. This is the report for their second year. The report has been provided by Tony Jackson, and the paperwork and invoices have been submitted for payment. The only things I would highlight are that they had a successful planting year again this year. I would really, I think they need to be commended for securing some additional funding, which resulted in trees being planted in our community with some additional subsidy. And finally, they provided us some information about the care and maintenance of trees that were planted in the first year of the program. Tony Jackson passes along his regrets for not being able to attend tonight, but I want to get this report before you because I'd like to pay the invoices. And if there are questions that you would like me to follow up with Tony and provide back to council with an email, I certainly can. Or if you'd like to have an opportunity to see a presentation from Tony in the future at some meeting, I just know he's a very busy guy. We can try to schedule it, and that would be an opportunity to thank him directly and his committee directly. So council can do with that as they please. And just on the budget, they came in within 10 or 15 bucks of budget. So they were very close to being right on budget. And so it's a very successful thing in all fronts.
Okay, the recommendation here is that the municipality of West Perth receives the rural routes 2021 planning report for information. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Marshall, seconded by Councillor Trinkowski. Is there any questions or discussion with regards to this report, or any questions for Jeff? Councillor Trinkowski.
Not a question, Your Worship, but I want to commend and congratulate the Rural Roots Committee and thank all the donors, the participants, and the volunteers for their hard work. This is exactly the kind of thing we need to carry forward in the future in our community.
Okay, so noted. Good points, Dean. Anybody else? Okay, if not, all those in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any, that is carried. And this next report that Jeff has is results of the municipal office tender. So again, I'll turn it over to Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. I'm certainly not going to review every detail of the report because there is the report that I provided in detail and the review of the tenders that was provided by our engineer, Nelson Dolly. Nelson Dolly has agreed to join us tonight in case there's any specific questions about the tender report that he prepared or what we see coming in terms of the contract. My quick summary before I turn it over for questions is that we are actually very pleased with the financial amount and the quality of the tender documents that we had, I think, and generated a very good bid package, which allowed for good submissions that were very easy to review objectively and transparently. And I think that's what you want to see from any kind of public procurement process, is an objective and transparent process. And I want to commend Nelson Dolly for the work on those drawings and his team, which essentially are building permit ready, and we have them ready to send to the building department for a building permit once council decides to move ahead. That's the quality that we have. And then on the bidding process, there was a detailed summary in the report about the 7 that we received. We had a public tender opening. I want to thank the councillors that were able to attend that opening, and the one that was able to drive by and wave because he was on his way to something else. But we saw you and we waved back. Deputy Mayor Wright, we'd like to head you there, but I appreciate that you took a drive through the lot for a spin by. And so I think the building committee did a lot of hard work to get us to this point. And I think this is a very critical project for this municipality moving forward. Number one, for just continuing with good governance for the community and having a good meeting space and having good facilities. But secondly, as we approach the January 1st, 2025 deadline, where we have an obligation to have an accessible building, I think this is a significant moral obligation for the municipality to fulfill the need to have a community accessible space. So I think it's a success on many fronts, and I would recommend approval. And again, Nelson's also in attendance, and I'm sure we'll come on and answer questions if there are any.
Okay, before we do the motion, I will ask if there's any specific questions with regards to Jeff's report. Councillor Vink?
Are we in jeopardy of not receiving the ISIP grant dollars?
It's a question that it's difficult for me to answer because we haven't been able to engage in a discussion of negotiating a transfer payment agreement that allows for an extension to the date. I think any reasonable person would agree that the ISIP dollars, the $160,000, was provided as a matter of COVID resiliency and to assist municipalities with responding to COVID. In this situation, our response is to do a new build to make it our building more COVID resilient. It meets the criteria, but it's not reasonable because of contractor availability and supply chain issues and the delays that have occurred with the announcement and the approval. It's really frankly not reasonable to expect that we can meet the December 31st deadline. So I think a reasonable, any reasonable approval authority negotiating this transfer payment agreement would say we'll negotiate an alternative date for an end date, or we'll negotiate an alternative to what constitutes completion of enough of the project to receive the grant. And I think that's one of the two fronts. Those are the two fronts we will ask for a negotiation. And I would think we should expect to receive it, but I can't guarantee that we will.
Councillor Trinkowski had a question?
No,
Oh,
Your
sorry.
Worship, I don't.
I thought you did. Sorry.
My hand was up. My hand was up, but I found the information I was looking for.
Okay, no problem. Anybody else have any questions? Councillor Tam?
Just on the demolition part of it, Jeff. So the whole old hull can be demolished without any compromise of the rest of the structure?
Nelson, would you like to turn? Either one of us. I think I'll let Nelson answer that one. He's an engineer.
No, we don't envision any concern with the existing municipal office with removal of the fire hall. It's pretty clean, the addition. When we excavate out the pits that are there or old cisterns, we'll have to be careful that we don't undermine something, but I doubt that they go much below the existing foundation of the municipal office.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, I will read the motion then, and I'll give you one more chance to question anything if you wish. So the recommendation that we have is that the Council for the Municipality of West Perth award the municipal office construction project to Dom Construction Limited as a stipulated price for contract for construction and site works at a cost of $2,823,000 plus HST, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and seal all necessary documents, and that the Council for the Municipality of West Perth approves the overall capital budget, which includes design, tender management, and construction oversight, construction and site works under Dom Construction Limited, contract furniture and equipment, contingency, building permit, and the unrecoverable HST at an upset total of $3,541,248. Do we have a mover and seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Trinkowski and Councillor Rose. Any further discussion on this? No questions. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried unanimously. Very good. Thank you. And thank you to Nelson. All right.
Thanks and congratulations. Nice work, everyone.
Okay, moving on. The next item is correspondence from the Mitchell Lions Club with regards to their annual fish fry. And I believe we've done this last year as well for the one-way street, just to facilitate the ease of having that event happen. The information was there in our package. Is there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we do have a recommendation here that municipality of West Perth accepts the request from the Mitchell Lions Club and authorizes the Blanchard driveway through the Lions Park to be the route as a one-way direction from south to north from the intersection of Blenheim Street and Blanchard Street on August the 7th, 2021 from 4:30 to 6:30 to facilitate their annual fish fry event. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Harold and Councillor Marshall. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Very good. Next is the, did I miss one here? I have Seaforth fire area. Does it come up? Did I overlook it on the agenda? Did I miss it?
It was in the consent agenda for some
Oh,
reason.
it was in the consent
this
agenda.
week.
Okay, all right, that's where it was in the consent agenda. Because it just pops up on my computer now as through this part of the meeting. Okay. The next item is council reports, and I just have a verbal update with Canada Post. And if you recall at the last meeting, brought it up and got permission from council that we forward a correspondence to Canada Post. That correspondence went out, I believe, on a Wednesday, and we had a phone call on the Friday. And I talked to personnel at Canada Post, and some of you are maybe aware of this, but I believe it was today 2 full-time people started working there as well as 2 part-time people. So the staff complement has been increased to be back up where they were. They were very obliging and appreciative of our correspondence to them to make them aware of the situation. And I'm not saying that what we did helped. I think it was going to happen, but it maybe did speed things up a little bit. I'm not sure. But anyways, we have a contact now. And if we need to ever have any type of dialogue with Canada Post again, we certainly have a connection and a contact to get a hold of. So other than that, that's about pretty straightforward. The other thing they've changed, and it'll open up and change anyways, but there was only one person allowed in the office to receive mail or parcels, and they have changed that to 2 people. But as we open up, that'll probably get changed no matter what anyways. That's kind of it for Canada Post, unless there's some further questions, but it was pretty straightforward. The next is the Sabo Bay Field Conservation Authority. Councillor Tam, do you have anything you want to highlight there?
No, not really. It was pretty straightforward, fairly short meeting. If there's any questions, I'd try and answer them.
Okay, any questions for Mike on that? Okay, the recommendation then is that the municipality of West Perth accepts the reports from staff and councillors as presented, and further that all committee minutes and correspondence not specifically dealt with by resolution be received and filed. Mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Rose, Councillor Murray. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. All right, we do have a bylaw tonight, and the bylaw is bylaw 56, and it's a bylaw to amend bylaw 75, 2020, to provide for collection of actual costs for the construction of branch A of the Appel or Apple. I'm not sure how we say that. I think it's Appel Municipal Drain. Any questions with regards to that? If not, the bylaw is here, and the recommendation is that the municipality of West Perth gives first, second, and third and final reading to bylaw 56, 2021, this 19th day of July, and the mayor and clerk are hereby directed to sign and affix the corporate seal. Mover and seconder for that first, or for the 3 readings on that bylaw. Councillor Matheson and Councillor Murray. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Upcoming announcements, we do have another council meeting next Monday night. Unusual, we have 3 in a row, but we're on a roll here. So next Monday night, and then the next meeting after that would be in August. So there'll be one in August. Any other announcements at this time? Oh, Deputy Mayor Wright?
Tim Hortons Day, Camp Day is on Wednesday. If anybody wants to buy a coffee or donate, I'm luckily out there from 9 to 10. I'm sure other people are out in the driveway. Walter?
Yes, I know I am. Dan?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to add that we're currently targeting August 16th to have an in-person meeting. If there's anyone on council that objects or doesn't feel comfortable with that, please send us an email and let us know. I don't want anyone to be put on the spot right now or anything like that. So just keep your comments if you can on it. And if there is something, let me know in private and we'll assess from there. But we are targeting August 16th for us to be in person.
Okay, very good. I thought you were going to volunteer at Tim Hortons. That's what you were going to help Doug. Okay, if there's nothing further there, I don't believe there's any notices of motion. Is there any other business? None? Okay. We don't have a closed session tonight, so the next item then would be the confirmatory bylaw. And it's bylaw 57, 2021 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council, the corporation, and municipality of West Perth for the meeting dated July the 19th. We have a mover and seconder for that one. Councillor Murray and Councillor Bell, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And then the next is a motion to adjourn, and that we do adjourn at 8:10. I have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Harold and Councillor Rose. All those in favor? Very good. We're adjourned. Thank you.